This episode of the Young and Pruitt podcast is brought to you by Carpy's Custom Screen Printing. If you need labels, t-shirts, banners, race car graphics, window stickers, and anything else in between, give our buddies over at Carpy's a call. Or you can email them at sales@carpys.com. You can also find them on Twitter and Instagram. Twitter, hit them up at Carpys_CO. Or Instagram, it's at Carpys. And you can also look them up on their website, www.carpys.com. Give them a holler, tell them what you need, and they'll come up with a perfect product for you.
And once you are done shopping at Carpy's, be sure to head over to youngandpruitt.com, where you can find every single episode of this podcast. Ones like Bobby Allison, Joey Knuckles, Spencer Davis, and all the long line of Timmy Petcheck episodes. You can check out Layla's blog. You can head over to our fan forum, create a membership, join the discussion, and talk about anything you want. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube. Be sure to hit us up a nice review. Go over on Twitter, Instagram, at Young and Pruitt on both. Joining us this week, we have a champion race car driver that has owned his own team since he was 19 years old. Now, he's only 23, but I know what I was doing when I was 19, and I know what I was doing when I was 23, and it was not owning a race team. Though he has not been a guest on this show yet, we have talked about him before, because when he was getting a start into racing down here, he had the luxury of sleeping on my floor. And I'm talking about Mason Mitchell. Super cool kid, really nice. He's got a bright future ahead of him in the race car and owning his team. We talk about both, and we talk about how he Thanos'd his way into owning a NASCAR team. Enjoy. So anyway,
No big deal. Yeah, well, when you make $1 billion your first weekend on the Avengers,
yeah,
it's pretty easy to get away with a $60 million loss.
So we can we've talked about your start and how you stayed at my house one time. So
yeah,
so
well, that's kind of how I recontacted you here about being on the podcast.
yeah. So Mason Mitchell, race car driver, team owner, all around badass dude. How did you meet my roommate?
Well, so at the time, it's 2012. I just graduated high school in May, and we were going to do some ARCA races. And I ended up signing 4 races with Eddie Sharp.
Yes.
That's where Brandon was working
yeah,
at the time.
okay, got it.
And I didn't know anybody down here except for some of the guys on the team, really, and Eddie and some people over there. I think it was after our second race or something like that. I came down for a week or so, and that's when I ended up staying at your guys' house. The air mattress on the floor there. So, and then I didn't really see each other much. And then back 2015, we worked together at Iowa.
Yes.
On the pit, you were pitting my car that day. We won, and then we just see each other all the time at the racetrack and stuff.
Yeah, it was just like a one-time show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back in 2012, Eddie Sharp was that was the place to be. He was like the MDM. Mm-hmm. Now, Justin Lofton and that whole group, really good cars and a really good group back then. So I could see why you you showed interest.
Yeah,
in
they were
being with Eddie.
They had extreme success. I mean, Lofton won the championship there a couple years prior. And just went there. We ran good. We never won. We led a lot of laps. I mean, my first race ever in one of these ARCA cars. So it was exciting times.
What did you used to race?
So I kind of came up. It's like a little brief background. I started in motocross actually in Iowa. I'm from Des Moines, West Des Moines. Actually, I don't like being called from Des Moines, whatever reason. But motocross. Then in these smaller cars called mini cups. They look just like a stock car, but they're half the size. They're a cool little series. They're kind of dead now though, unfortunately. Then I went and ran pro late models, and then into a super late model, the same thing, bigger engine. I mean, you know what those are. Didn't run a ton of races every year. Did some stuff locally, then traveled a little bit. We were in the World Crown race before, some things like that. And then I turned 18, and I wanted to make that next step. I didn't have anybody really ever working on that stuff before. I never ran for a team. It was just my dad and I out of our garage. We got some help here and there, but just a family deal, and we struggled a lot, but I wanted to really pursue it, and we were able to put some things together and make the deal happen with Eddie, and that's really where the whole thing kind of kicked off, because we had a lot of success, ran really well, and then in 2013 I ran almost a full season. I actually ran for 2 teams that year, Rouleau Brothers the first half, and then during the transition I ran for Empire, and had some good runs, a lot of second places, led some laps in the last half of the season, decided to start our own team, and then we won a race and led a lot of laps and won the championship that year. And then it kind of turned into the driver development deal, where next year we had somebody drive for us, and then kept on growing on that, and we've got a pretty decent program. I've had a lot of 7 wins now. I think we're up to. Want to obviously get more, and just it's a slow progress and trying to keep a better program going.
Yeah, I remember you were one of those drivers that kind of had like everyone knew that you were going to win, and then it was bad luck. Something happened, and then a lot of second place finishes. How did you keep going to able to push through and get that first win?
It was tough, man. Oh my goodness. I remember, I think it kind of all started in the end of 2013. Kentucky, we led some laps, finished second to Corey LaJoy, won that night. And then we finished second at Kansas the week later, 2 weeks later. And then
wait, where was that race at?
It was Kentucky in 2013.
When Corey LaJoy won?
I think he won.
Okay.
Yeah. You guys won the next year in 14 with Brennan.
Yeah, and then I had won that year with Corey at Pocono.
Yep.
That was the car that they built in their garage.
Yep. Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I think
it won every race that it ran.
Yeah.
Other than maybe one, I think they crashed or blew a tire and won. But every race that they finished, they won in that car, or he won in that car.
It was Kansas the next race where he got wrecked.
Yeah.
Yep. I can't remember who won that race. Oh, Frank won that race. That was his last win.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, the rain was coming. Yeah, crazy finish. It was an okay day for us, so we finished second. Not going to complain. But then, we're starting a new team. It was like all odds against us, but I felt like it was the right move, because just kind of controlling your own destiny, putting the right people in place, and having new cars and stuff. And we kind of came out of the box pretty strong with some good runs, and went to Toledo. We sat on the pole, set the track record that day. We still stands today. Led a lot of laps, finished second there, and then kept on having some more second place finishes after second place finishes, and finally had that breakthrough win at Chicago, and then had some more second place runs. But we were so consistent that year. We won like 8 poles that year, and we're lucky enough to win the championship.
Yeah, it just always seemed like something always happened. There was always like a weird caution, or someone got physical with you and moved you out of the way or something. Always happened. And I remember like you always had the Superman shirt on underneath. And that was going to be your deal, where you rip open your fire suit and it had like the Superman logo on the shirt underneath, and it's like okay, like let's win a race.
Yeah.
But you knew that it was going to happen, and then you knew once you did, like you knew that it was just going to snowball after that.
Well, then it's such a weird spot to be in with your own team, and knowing everything behind the scenes to put together. You just don't get to show up and drive. I lived at the shop in 14, 15, and 16, and then I finally got a place recently. But living there and being from the business side of it, handling all the paperwork and getting all the logistical stuff done, it's a lot. It's a pretty big toll, but I took some of the blame as far as not winning as often as I felt like we should have on myself, just because of that mindset of like being in that championship. Like, do I take the risk of like moving this guy away and like wrecking?
Yeah.
Or trying to, it's our cars, and trying to keep the equipment underneath us to go to that next race, so we can be in that consistent mindset, which we were super consistent all year. But then it was like total opposite mindset going into 15, because 15 I didn't really have any plans. I ran 4 races, I think, that year. We won 2 of them, and the other one we were leading when we had a battery issue. But I had that mindset, like, just whatever we got to do to win. And that night that you were in the car to Iowa really changed me for the rest of my racing career, because you probably recall it was hot as hell that night.
It's Iowa, man.
It was brutal. And I failed to prepare myself, with drinking liquids before the race. It was awful. I didn't have a cool box or any type of fan. We actually had a fan, but we taped it up for qualifying. forgot to untape it. My water bag was out by like lap 50, and I'm sitting in the car. I mean, it's just hot as hell, and I'm like, oh my god, can this race get over? Because we actually ran pretty bad that night.
We were in the top. We were around the top 5.
Yeah,
but we weren't like.
We literally pitted at like almost every caution adjustments.
Yeah,
on that thing.
Yeah. We it was a fun night. It was one of those long nights to where. Like you've seen it kind of start building towards something, and there was a lot of buzz around that race with you. Mm-hmm. Like even the IS looked like the 78 on the car. I still have the hat.
Yeah, we had nothing to do with that. But then like after we get the victory lane hats, which IS for Iowa Speedway, and it's a 7/8 mile racetrack. The logo and everything they did on the hat looked like a 78. So people were like, "Oh, it was rigged."
Yeah. So we're like, really?
Like, it's not rigged.
But believe me, how hard that night was to win. Making adjustments every stop, and just we were fortunate with the cautions how they played out there. I mean, really, if it wasn't you guys did a phenomenal job on pit road to put us in position to even have the shot there, and then it was a 1-lap shootout. Had a good jump and cleared them, and that was it. And it was winning. But I remember after that race, we did Victor Lane celebrations and stuff, and then actually I ended up going to the Infield Care Center because I was gone. I ended up not puking, but whatever you can puke up and stuff. And I remember in the media center we were talking to the reporters and everything, what was going on, and it was such a cool event, hometown, and that was honestly bigger than winning the championship for me.
Really,
just because it's your home, man. It's the hometown crowd, the friends, the family. It's so hard to win there, and just to do it. And in that atmosphere and that how the whole race played out, it was just so cool. But
that's probably the only one that I ever remember winning. That I could hear the crowd cheering.
Yeah.
Also, usually at those, they'll cheer here and there, but the ARCA's so hard to follow for the casual fan. But everyone knew who you were, and what we did that night was pretty significant.
Yeah. No, not being in the seat that often anymore. I have to go back on YouTube once in a while to watch that race. It was just the good old days right there. But
how old were you when you started your team?
I was 19.
You're 19 when the team started? Yeah,
because it was in the fall of 2013, because I turned 18, 12. So I was 19, and then the next year, my birthday's in June, so I turned 20 during that championship season. But there was a lot going on.
So do you think that hindered you at all?
As far as having a team?
Yeah, having
a personal...
Yeah, having to deal with all the background stuff and not just being able to focus on driving.
Without a doubt. I mean, I don't want the guy to make excuses or anything like that, but I don't know if I question myself at times, but sometimes I look back, or even currently, I love having the team and love having success. Being part of winning is just, what it's like. It just drives you. But the whole reason I got started and everything is because I wanted to drive. So having that focus on the team so much, I literally have no focus on myself as far as driving. So I'm always having to, I'm trying to create some ideas and things how I can get back in the seat. And I feel like I'm going to be. That's my whole goal and everything going on, but it definitely doesn't help that side of it, which is what it is, I guess, right now.
Well, at all times you have to worry about, keeping the doors open in the bottom line.
For sure.
So, the risk versus reward changes. That system changes when you're driving. Well, do I want to get in a tussle with this guy, or do I want to be able to show up here next week?
Yep. Yeah, and right now with the team going on, it's it is keeping the doors open, and we've done a pretty good job. Obviously, always like to be better, but it is what pays the bills. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those deals.
So how does it operate now? Is it mostly are you bringing sponsorships in, or are other drivers bringing it in, or is it kind of like a developmental deal where you're finding talent who's ready to move up and this is kind of like their first ride?
Right. No, it's basically similar to a lot of the ARCA teams and what we do. It's most of the drivers bring in their funding, and we just provide the equipment and the people and everything like that. We actually just moved into a new shop in December over at Lakeside Park. Mm-hmm. Really nice facility now, and we have basically majority of the stuff we need to operate. I feel like at the level that everybody else has, we we never had, it was crazy, but we never had a pull down before. We always rented time or just hooked up the good old Ram. But we have a pull down now, which is a great tool to use, as you guys know. But yeah, we have a lot of great partners that come along with the drivers, and the drivers are so fun to work with. I have a really good group this year of drivers to work with, and extremely excited about this weekend with Grant Enfinger, because me and him, our battle over the year in 14 was so fierce that we never really spoke that much. So putting this deal together it wasn't awkward, but like that was the first thing I got off my chest when we talked. I opened it up. I was like, hey, it's crazy how life comes full circle sometimes, and you never want to burn a bridge. So working together with him, it's gonna be really fun. But to answer your question, yeah, it's kind of everybody brings their funding together, and we provide the opportunity.
It's always like an age-old question. They're like, well, the driver's bringing funding. And I'm like, okay, well, that driver still had to go out and do the exact same thing that a team does. So, like...
In some cases, a lot of it nowadays, a lot of the kids that are coming up are very fortunate to have some type of backing, whether it's family backing or they have somebody that the family does business with that they're able to leverage. And I don't... people... in the sport and outside people in the public want to complain about it all the time. I'm like, oh, this kid comes for money, blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't blame the kid at all for taking advantage of that if he really truly wants to do it. The problem that does frustrate me is that somebody that has that opportunity and wants to just piss it away by just doing stupid things or stupid choices. If you really want it, be dedicated and show that you want it. But I don't have a problem at all that if somebody is $1 million kid and wants to do it, that's all fine and dandy. Just put in the effort,
Yeah, that money doesn't spend any different for you.
Yeah, I've been around drivers that were doing it just because basically that's what their parents wanted them to do, and they didn't want to really have anything to do with it. And it's sad, but at the same time, like, what are you going to do? Like, the famous last words is, "I ran out of money."
Yep.
There's a lot of drivers out there that have ran out of money and have failed to continue.
For sure.
Well, you got to try. If that's your life dream, you absolutely. Sometimes passes get intercepted and running back for touchdowns, and sometimes they're game winning.
And then you get like the
scores,
the Daniel Hemricks of the world.
Yep.
That get out there and race and win everything, and are able to see someone like, okay, well, we'll figure the sponsorship stuff out, but we got to get this kid in the seat. And it's just so tight, and it basically comes down to who has the money nowadays. It's the sport of lords.
Take Brian Scott as a good example. Like, he came down here, he made a career out of it. His family probably dumped, over 10 years, like $40 or $50 million into the sport. Kept cars open. Think about all the mouths that he fed. Mortgage payments. Created opportunities for guys who ultimately wouldn't have been able to come into the sport. So it's like, it doesn't really matter where the money's coming from as long as the money's like still coming in. Like that's the end of the day. Like,
and to say that Brian wasn't trying. Like, I know Brian was trying.
Absolutely.
I know for a fact that he was trying. But at the end of the day, there's some drivers that have that it factor more than the others.
Yep.
And it's really hard. It's really hard to beat someone that's been in a go-kart since they were 3, 4. Like,
it's just like
you're playing catch up.
Compared to other sports, seat times just compared to somebody, a basketball player being on the court and practicing all the time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it costs a lot more to go test in a race car than to go pick up a basketball. But Jordan and James, all those guys, if you really study them and what they do to be at that level, it's almost insane at times, but that's how they're so good. And you're right. It's hard to beat somebody that's been racing their whole life.
Yeah, because there's always going to be some factor that's going to beat the other one. If you're in equal equipment, it's going to come down to talent or just luck.
Think about how much more when you're younger, the fundamentals are stressed upon you. When you're like 3 years old, 4 years old, like, this is what you're supposed to do. This is how you pass somebody. All that stuff's beaten into your head at the most like arguably impressionable point of your life.
Right. Yeah, and
and you're just so much more better prepared. Your foundation to build off of is just like way, way deeper and bigger.
And you're really not old enough to think about other stuff.
Right.
Like, you're still in like that animal mode to where you're only focusing on like muscle memory and muscle movement stuff.
Yep.
You don't have time to, like, you go over here to GoPro and you see some of those little kids, like these kids are just come home from daycare.
Yeah.
And they get them in a go-kart, and they're going faster than my times. It's
Oh, yeah.
like, Jesus.
Well, and it's known fact. I mean, I'm no scientist or doctor or anything, but the older you get, the harder it is to learn something.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So, I think the earlier you can be than when you're a kid. I mean, and you just pick something up, you can learn it, you can adapt so much quicker than an older person. I think that has something to do with the racing deal. Somebody that gets a later start, I mean, they can do it, but the dedication and the effort that they put in is way more than I think you when you're younger, because you don't know any better. You don't know anything else either.
Mm-hmm. So what was the things that you liked, the type of race car and the type of racetrack that you like to run?
I mean, personally, my favorite race car ever to run is the ARCA car. I mean, I don't have a huge amount of experience in a whole different type of race cars. I mean, it's just from a dirt bike, I guess, but a mini cup, late model, and an ARCA car. I like the ARCA car with a lot of power they have and how heavy they are. Biased, favorite track's Iowa, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But I think if you talk to a lot of race car drivers, they like that place, just how racy it is with the progressive bank, the worn out pavement, and you can move around. But, you know, I like intermediate style racing because you're just on the gas the whole time. But, you know, for excitement wise, short track racing is fun. It's what we need more in the sport, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that started on the dirt bike stuff, and I think that you learn racing lines when you're on a dirt bike. I think that you really learn the path and the line that you have to take every single time.
There's so much finesse involved.
Yeah.
I mean, even just, you know, passing, braking is so much involved. You know, if you're checking up some guy or, you know, taking his line away, you know, a lot of that comes from anticipating your momentum and how quickly you can stop it.
When a big thing too, like motocross, is like rhythm. So and the jumps all rhythm, the whoop section rhythm, yeah. So, and if you really think about it, it correlates right into racing. Like when you're coming on lap traffic, rhythm. Don't let those guys slow you down and that you just gap the second place guy farther or something like that. So, I think that taught me a little bit. I didn't spend a ton of time in it just because I was a fan of NASCAR so much, and then. Personally, I think my dad wanted me to get out of it just because he was tired of cleaning up dirty bikes. But I still have a love for it. I mean, I watch Supercross whenever it's on. I mean, I go to Atlanta Supercross all the time. I wish I could. I don't have a bike. I have four-wheelers. I used to go out to the sand dunes in Glamis all the time. But that stuff I love, just action, sports, action, stuff like that.
Supercross has exploded.
It really has.
Like, it has become a part of the mainstream motorsports conversation.
I think
it's a quality product.
Yeah. The arena really helps that.
Yes.
Because you get all the creature comforts of being in an arena.
Yeah.
Just like a football game. But then you're sitting there and you're hearing brap, 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 and you're watching them fly up. Like you're sitting, 40, 50 row, and you see a dirt bike go like eye level with you. You're like, holy crap.
Well, a good thing, what they do, I think, so well is they put on a show. Not just the racing, but like...
Yes. The production is fantastic.
It's owned by Feld Entertainment, which owns Monster Jam, which I think they own the circus company too, but they do such a great job. The announcer, they do driver or rider intros, and they each have like their own video, a pyro show, a little bit like WWE in a way. Mm-hmm. So, when they started talking about the NASCAR cell, I mean, I personally, it was kind of cool, in my opinion, to see Feld Entertainment be one of those guys just because of what they add. I think what NASCAR and racing is lacking is that show factor.
Yeah.
It's, people are freaking put on a damn circus or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
The first time that I saw that was last year at the All-Star race. Mm-hmm. I was injured last year, like I am this year. And I was walking around the infield, and they had that big show with all the dirt bikes and these little like legend cars doing burnouts, and they had all the big intros and super loud music. And I remember looking at the guys like, this is how you put on a show.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm excited. And this is what I do for a living.
Think about what they did at, was it Daytona July last year? Hey, it's rained out. We're going to have fights.
Yeah.
That's just good work. I mean, that's just thinking ahead.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like they need to get, we don't need to have, scripted races, but have the drivers being more involved. Have them with intro music and a little bit of a show going on, build that character and stuff. Like, we don't need to be vanilla. Oh my God, that just kills the entertainment side of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, there's a lot at stake with corporate America.
Yeah.
So you can't do a lot of the stuff that you think. And everyone kind of thought that it was kind of going to be more boys have at it once Monster got involved, and it really hasn't.
No.
But it's slowly starting to go that way. I think as the generation changes, I think it'll start to get a little bit more. Once you start getting those younger kids now, like the Chase Elliott's and the William Byrons and stuff like that, once those guys are the primary guys in the series, I think you'll start seeing guys.
That's one thing I really like about Harvick's domination now is you're creating a super villain for these young kids to go and conquer.
Yeah,
and it works.
Yeah.
It fits right into how every young superstar comes into power. You know, Blaney goes out and knocks Harvick off the mountain, and all of a sudden Ryan Blaney is the guy.
Yep.
And he's already got the base and the foundation and the personality to go be that now. He just has to, slay the dragon.
Yep.
And we haven't had, a dragon to go slay. Martin Truex destroyed everybody last year.
I would take it all the way back to Senior and Gordon.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
that's really when the whole look and feel began to change.
Yeah. And then, like, Jimmy Johnson was the boogeyman there for a little bit, but Jimmy and them were so good that
It's hard to hate Jimmy Johnson, too.
Yeah, they were
He's
so
like a nice
good.
dude.
They were so good and always on it that they intimidated the competition by making the competition second guess themselves.
Yes.
Yep.
When he was in the middle of winning his six in a row that he won? Five in a row?
Five.
Yeah. When he was in the middle of that, it was chaos at the race teams because it's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Like, teams were firing everybody, completely turning over shops, doing this, doing that, trying this, and everyone was just chasing their tail and just trying to figure out what to do. What are we going to do to beat these guys? And they start second guessing themselves, and they ended up just taking themselves out.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, Chad and Jimmy always had it figured out. They were always there at the end. They always had the number one game plan. The race was called perfectly. They were right there when they needed to be. When they didn't need to be up there, they weren't up there. And when they needed to be up there, they dominated the whole race.
My best interaction with Jimmy Johnson happened at Phoenix 2, 2016. I was coming out of the hauler, and I was swung the door open, and I didn't go out the back of the hauler. I went out the side door.
Yeah.
And all I heard was, whoa, and I'm like, oh, sorry, and I shut the door, and it was Jimmy Johnson coming in between trying to avoid the masses, and I'm like, dude, I just about wrecked your face. He was like, it's no worries, man, it was just an accident. And I'm like, this guy, that's why this guy's a champion. I literally almost broke his face. And he was just like, no worries, man.
Yeah, well, he was the champion.
Just laid back.
He was the champion of the sprint era, and he reflects a lot of what the sprint era was. Very clean cut.
He's also just a stoic guy to begin with. I mean,
yeah. Well, hell, he lives. He lives in New York. He doesn't live down here.
Yeah. Still need to go to his taco shop down in South End. I haven't done
Never
that
been
yet.
there? I've been there before. It's really good.
That's what I've heard.
It's a unique. I mean, it's California based.
It's
food.
real deal.
Yeah,
Like
so it's a little
tacos.
different, but it's pretty good.
But I remember calling it at the beginning of the year. Everyone was saying, car's going to win, this car's going to win. And I called it, and I said, no. I said, it's going to be Harvick, Kyle, Denny. It's going to be the old veterans. You're going to have 3 or 4 old veterans that's going to have all the wins this year. Because there's just too many young rookies or younger drivers that came in. They're not going to beat that seat time that we talked about. If everyone is in good equipment, the old guy with all the experience is going to win. Now, Father Time catches up with everybody.
Sure.
But right now, Harvick's still in his prime. Kyle's for sure still in his prime. So I knew that, Byron probably not going to get a win. Chase might get a win. Jones probably not going to get a win. It's really hard for those guys to do it and to do it in a dominant fashion like that. So it's playing out how I kind of called it to be. But what do you see looking forward to Charlotte here with the ARCA cars? Haven't been there in a while.
No, I think the last time was 2006, I think. I was just watching that race the other day, actually, which a lot's changed since then, for sure, with the car and the track. But
the times, for sure.
yeah.
They're faster than the Xfinity cars.
Yeah. What's the Xfinity car turn for a time, do you know?
30s. It was who was it? Allgaier had a 30:59.
Oh, yeah, our car's way faster. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's the pole of the spring race last year.
Yeah.
He was a 30:58, 30:59.
Yeah, race trim the other day was right there.
Yeah.
Mocked up was like a 29, low 29.
And that's
well,
in a
they
car.
look fast.
800
It looks
horsepower
so cool.
does that.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and that's a car with not as much front downforce because it doesn't have the splitter.
Right.
What do you think? How do you think it's going to be?
Well, it'll be first off. I think there's a little bit unknown with the PJ1 or whatever it's called. I'm not sure if they're applying that. I don't really know. And I mean, it was applied the other day, not that day, but before we went, and nobody experimented up top. So I'm not sure how that's going to come in effect. But I've been to Charlotte to watch a race, but never been in the pits or had any part of a competition there. It looks really narrow compared to any mile and a half we go to.
Yeah.
And I think there's still a pretty decent disparity between the front of the pack and the back of the pack in ARCA. There's a lot of good cars from 1st to 15th, but then you have a few slower ones, but then there's still a couple that are pretty slow. And it just seems like, where are you going to go, when it gets all spread out, which I don't think it's going to get spread out. It's so competitive, so everybody's so close, and you get through lap traffic. And I think if you see a wreck next Thursday night, it's going to collect a few at a time.
Yeah.
I don't see no single car spins coming.
Yeah, and hopefully the weather will be with us
Yeah.
because the PJ1, when it gets wet, isn't the best.
Right.
So it gets kind of slimy.
Yeah. They did bring up General Tires, the official tire of ARCA, and I felt like
how
they
you said
brought
that.
It was very well done. You can tell he's a team owner. He gets this.
They aren't paying me that though. I get a free tire. I do have some General Tires on my Jeep. I got a hell of a discount.
Nice.
But it was our first time testing there. A couple other teams did a tire test there and stuff like that, but I felt like they brought a really good tire there. Our team in particular, I feel a few other teams, sorry, there missed it as well because the new tire.
It's thunder.
But the tire falls off, which I like. I can't stand when we go to these intermediate races and you can race the whole race on a tire
Yeah.
and it doesn't fall off. So it provides for better racing, whenever you have a tire fall off, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. And I think Grant's going to give you a good shot.
I think so too.
Being in the car.
He's a super underrated wheel.
Yeah.
He's
I agree.
very good. I mean,
Yeah.
he can go up there and compete in the truck series and has. So I think,
Yeah, he's got 16 ARCA wins. He won the title in 15. So, I mean, I looked at it like there's nobody else better to put in the car for Toledo. He's never won there, but he's led a ton of laps. He should have won there in 15, but he had a transmission issue late. He dominated the race that day. So, it'll be a good situation for us, really, to evaluate our program. We've been pretty good in the short tracks this year, but, to have the whole package there.
So he's not running the car at Charlotte.
No, just Toledo.
All right, who's running the car at Charlotte?
Max Tolman and Quinn Half.
Okay.
So,
All right, well, that was my mistake.
yeah. Austin Theriot, though, was there helping us test the other night.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
he's another super underrated dude.
Yep. Him and Grant have a lot of similarities. I feel like his personality-wise.
Yeah, they're not very talkative.
No, hell no.
They're quiet.
They're there to race and
Yep.
they'll talk and interact, but
Yeah.
you're not going to get much out of them.
Yeah, you're not. I think I've seen Grant pissed off once. I can't remember who it was to, but someone got him mad one time, and it was like so weird seeing him angry. It's like because you don't picture him like that.
Right.
Like you picture Grant like the farmer.
Yep.
Like the old
He's
farmer
letting the
type.
beard grow out a little bit. It's a little scruffy. I'm like, dang, man.
Well,
But now he's the vet. Now he's the old grizzled ARCA vet.
Yeah. Yeah, me and him had some of the field mad at us in 14 at Talladega. That was the first time I ever did that group qualifying thing.
Yes, I remember
Daytona,
that.
Talladega. And because Daytona, we single car qualified, and then they went to Talladega and they changed it, and it was like the groups were based on practice speeds. So me, Grant, and I were in the same group, and a lot of other fast cars.
And the last car in the group kept hanging back and trying to get the run.
We all had a plan together as a group to me and Grant were going to be together. We're going to lead out front. Then there was going to be, it was 6 cars, so there was 3 packs of 2 cars, and we'd be out front, and then this group would get a run, and then we would drop back swap. It worked out really good. Well, me and Grant were like the first group to pull up and get the run on the cars ahead of us. Well, we went to the top of the board. I'm following Grant. That was my whole plan the whole time. He pulls off. I'm like, hell, I'm just gonna pull off too. We come in, dude. Everybody's just pissed. I mean, we got called some words I'm not gonna say on here, but it was. I'm like, and they're like, yeah. I mean, I just followed Grant, man, and they're accusing me. I'm like, hey, whatever.
It's racing. Whoops.
Yep. Whoops.
Sorry.
Yeah. It is what it is.
At the end of the day, we aren't teammates.
Yeah.
What do you see happening with this now that NASCAR owns ARCA?
I mean, I guess a lot of people's reaction is it could be scary thought and thinking that we could kill the series, but I don't think that. I mean, with how well the ARCA series is growing, if you really look at the competition, the car counts and talent that's in it, it's really grown over the last few years. And the K&N series, in my opinion, is struggling pretty bad to have car counts and stuff like that. So I don't know if they're going to merge them. There really hasn't been a direction that I've been told. It's going to be ran and operated the same through this year, through 2019, and then 2020 comes around. That's when it really takes effect as NASCAR. So, your guess is as good as mine. I just hope it's for the better, and I hope we can keep continuing growing the series.
Yeah, the cars aren't too much different between an ARCA car and a K&N car.
No,
right?
really. I mean, the tire, there's a couple little, there's a rear end rule, there's a spring roll in the front, and the engine's different. They don't run roof flaps, we do. So, not a ton of difference.
Yeah, because they don't run a lot of speedways, though.
No, they run everything under a mile.
Yeah,
so it's all short track stuff.
everything under
and that's
a mile.
why you can be 15 and run with those guys full time.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting to see what they do there.
Yeah.
Because Daytona, Talladega, and now Charlotte and Kansas, Michigan.
Yep.
Michigan,
Chicago.
Pocono. Yeah, Chicago, Pocono. Yeah, so you can't. They're going to have to change something to make it to where.
I don't know if they're going to have like two series. I don't know. I remember like the whole Hooters Pro Cup deal where it was like there was like a championship tour, a northern tour. So who knows what to do.
Yeah. So being that you were a young driver and then now you're a young team owner, do you think a kid that's 15 could race at Daytona, Talladega?
I don't think
Charlotte?
so. In my opinion, I mean,
Even if they're sliced bread?
and yeah, I don't know who's sliced bread at 15, but except for the slice of the bread. But I feel like if we really wanted to enhance the product a little bit and make it a lot better for the teams that are in each series, and you compare it to other sports, make a rule where you got Cup, Xfinity, Truck, and you got ARCA. Well, compare it to high school, college, and professional sports. Maybe implement some age limits there where you actually increase the age limit in Cup to be like 24.
Oh, wow.
So you can't go into it until you've gone through this, really. Like how college and the professional stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's just a thought I had to keep these series full. Because so many kids are just gun ho of jumping through the system and not thinking about actually properly preparing themselves to get to the next level. They don't think about it, but they'd rather go race a truck or an Xfinity car and fall on their face instead of preparing themselves in ARCA where you're going to be seen, but you're not seen at that level, and you're prepared properly, and then you go to that next level and you can actually get the job done. But I don't know, it's just a thought I had the other day. Actually, I was thinking about it. Maybe we could increase some age limits on some of these, and I think it would help out just the whole racing and as a whole from the ARCA, the trucks. You use that stepping stone.
Mm-hmm. What was your speedway certification like?
Well, I think 2012 I ran Iowa, ORP, Berlin, and Kansas, and I had to do the Kansas test to get approved there. And then I ran Daytona test that fall. Yeah, going into 2013, so I was approved to run the full season then.
Got it. So they do the approval stuff during the test.
Yep. Okay. So actually, my first time ever in an ARCA car, I was actually at a Talladega test. I don't think it was an ARCA sanctioned test. It was a private one.
And like December or something like that was when they
I don't know when they did it. It was like in 2012 in January maybe. I was actually with Bobby Gerhart.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So at the time, he had it going on at those places.
Oh yeah.
So, but then after competing in ARCA for those years, winning the championship that year, I did run that truck race at Homestead in 2014. But as far as the approval process and what I was able to do, I could run a full truck schedule and Xfinity schedule, I believe. So.
Yeah, because you see a lot of rookies in the truck series that they can't show up until Martinsville.
Yep.
Because they don't have the speedway certification, which like it kind of hinders it, and like as a team owner, like it makes it kind of weird because this kid's ready, he's got money, but then he can't run for the points championship.
Yeah.
You know, and it just gets weird. And I do like that idea of creating like an age limit type thing to where you have to be so old. I mean, obviously 16 for a truck.
Right.
But yeah, like a cup car, 21, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a thought that, I mean, with the state of the sport and everything, everybody's fighting for the same deal, like as far as getting somebody that has the funding. And so, you know, the truck teams or whoever, they're going to sell you on, now, you know, being here. Well, the ARCA team's going to sell you on the same thing too. So if you just kind of have that, if now with NASCAR owning ARCA, if they have that rule in there, I think it's going to help everybody and force them to run this. And then, you know, the ARCA teams are going to be taken care of for a bit. And then the truck teams are going to be taken care of, like, you know, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a thought.
People don't realize that you can make a lot of money in Cup as a driver.
Oh, yeah.
For instance, David Reagan. David Reagan in his career is probably, well, it was like $40 million when they stopped putting it public figure. And now and that was, you know, three years ago. So I would say it's probably closer to like $50 million.
Mm-hmm.
And in comparison, Elio Castroneves has only made about $25 million. But look what Elio's done in Indy versus what David's done in the Cup Series.
Mm-hmm.
But as a mid-pack dude, he's made $50 million.
Yeah, what I had always heard when Carl re-signed his last contract with Roush, he had a $40 million signing bonus.
Ford, people don't realize this. Ford is a very, very, very heavy supporter of this sport.
Yeah.
In ways that you as a regular person, not necessarily in the sport, would realize. But Ford dumps a ton of money into NASCAR and stock car racing in general. Mm-hmm. Like tons.
Yeah, I think it's weird that, it's convenient that the NASCAR, their Ford Cup car, got switched to the Mustang right before, like the week before they came out, that they're like discontinuing all cars but the Focus and the Mustang.
Yeah.
So it's like, good thing that came out
There's
first.
so much money in trucks right now, and one of Ford's initiatives is offering a substantial electric lineup. And they're also heavily involved in like creating the future of like the ride sharing economy. So like there's a whole focus on R&D and resource on that too.
Well, I've always also heard that they can just sell the F-150 and be fine.
They would probably be better off doing that. That's the only one they really make money off of.
Yeah, it's the number one vehicle sold ever.
Like ever.
It passed the VW Beetle like
crazy.
Like a couple years ago.
Yeah, they make probably like 12, 13 grand per truck. And that was back in the day when they were only like 35, 40 grand, and now they're 70. So your variable costs have definitely gone up, but I mean, that means your margin has too. So they're probably making 15, 20 on each truck.
Yeah. And then with everything with the EcoBoost and the Raptor edition that they got and all that, like it gets pretty exciting. But I remember when that Stewart-Haas deal started and Ford took over, like Ford just like basically threw the money at them. Yeah, there was Penske. Yeah, there was Roush, but Stewart-Haas is getting a lot more backing from Ford than really anybody else.
What do you think about the whole Kansas deal?
I think it's great.
I do too.
I think it's great.
We could use 2 more competitive cars on the racetrack.
Yeah,
for sure.
I wish the deal would have worked out better for him at Gibbs, to where he could have stayed a little bit longer, to where they would have kept Eric at Furniture Row for a little bit more. Because apparently that car is coming back again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for another driver. But that's the part that got me, was the fact that I'm pretty sure that he said right before that happened that he wanted to race like 1 or 2 more years or something like that. It's like, okay, well, give the man that. Like, he just won Phoenix. He won less than a year ago. So at least give him a shot. I think him going back with Jack was cool. You know, they were having problems with Trevor, and they've been struggling. And Jack's not afraid to pull someone out of a seat.
Right. Oh, no.
So I think it's cool. I'll be interested to see when he gets next to the 20 car, or excuse me, the 22 car.
Yeah.
Out on the racetrack. That's going to be interesting.
We can only hope and pray that Matt gets the seat at Martinsville, because that's kind of became the story.
Yeah. They said he's going to be in the All-Star race this weekend.
Yep.
In the 20-year Mark Martin All-Star Race throwback scheme.
Yeah, that's going to be sweet.
Sick.
That's going to be sweet. And if so, the weather being so bad, and they got the new ductwork and the new plates that they're going to put on these cars there. I mean, if practice rains out, are they going to let those cars go? Like, how's that even going to work?
2015 Xfinity race at Dover, and everything was rained out. So they literally, whatever you unloaded with is what you raced. There was no qualifying, no practices.
Yeah, but there wasn't
precedent there. There's precedence there.
Yeah, there wasn't wholesale changes into the car. Like, these cars are going to what? They're going to draft like a speedway?
We don't know.
I'm wondering if will these changes slow them down enough to draft? I don't know.
It'd
be interesting.
They need to slow them down just enough to where they can't get away from each other.
Right.
Like when you go watch a late model race, like it's 2x2 for 15, 20, 30 laps.
Yeah.
It's 2x2 the entire time, and everyone's glued to the racetrack going, oh shit, who's going to mess up?
Yeah.
Who's going to mess up? Like, and then the slower you go, you get down to Legends cars, they're side by side the entire their entire race until all of a sudden 3 or 4 of them just get spit out and go tumbling, and then they bunch them back up, and then they're right next to each other. And it might be like the first 1 or 2 cars that get away from each other, but then right back in 4th, 5th, 6th, that's good racing right there. So if they could just slow them down just a little bit. I liked how Indy looked last year. That helped it out a lot.
Yeah.
They really couldn't get away from each other. They really had to use each other, which was good. But the problem of them being able to get away from each other, and like you said earlier, when you get at those racetracks, when you're holding your foot on the floor, there's nothing else for you to do.
No.
What are you going to do? You got what you got. You got to hope that he misses his corner, gets caught in lap traffic, or his tires start to wear more, or that your car just hopefully ends up getting handling better than him. But when you get up there, it's hard to catch those guys. It's hard to pass them.
Yeah, I mean, everything's so aero dependent at those big tracks that, when you get behind somebody, you just go so damn aero tight and stuff like that. And it'd be nice to see some more short tracks. And I don't know about little bull ring tracks, but Memphis was a cool track and stuff like that, where it's great racing.
How big of a difference did you see between the splitter and the valence on the ARCA cars?
Well, I mean, we still technically run the valence on there, but it's more of like a splitter style.
Yeah.
So it's been a big adjustment. I mean, just from those steel body cars having a valence on it to now, where you still have a valence, but you treat it more like a splitter because of how all the aero panning going underneath, how you cut the valence. I mean, it's all similar to a cup car. So,
gotcha.
It's been a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. How about the composite bodies? Could you tell a difference?
Oh yeah, you can drive the shit out of those things. I mean,
really?
Just go in the corner. My first time I ever drove one, maybe the second time, I drove it at Iowa in 16, and you can just have the car so much freer, just because of side force and everything on it. I remember in that race, I can't remember the radio, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I mean, you're just driving it and just leaning on the right side the whole time. So we've gone faster at some of the places too, because I remember like qualifying in Kansas last year, almost wide open. Obviously, some places you're not going to go because the pavement's getting older and everything, but with the engine change too, it's less horsepower than what we used to have, but we've gone faster sometimes too because you just make that corner speed much faster.
Would you say it simplified the process or saved you any money?
The engine deal for sure, because the year I won the championship was the last year of that deal, and at the time we were Ford, so we were getting all our stuff from Roush Yates. And I don't know if I won't say a number, but I mean, you guys know it's super expensive to have those engines, but it's a great product. Those guys treated me awesome. Never had a breakdown. Great power. But then the new engine implemented, you paid X amount for it, and then you can run it you're recommended to rebuild it after 1,500 miles. That doesn't mean you have to stop at 1,500 miles. You can go till it blows, really. your rebuild's going to be a little more if it happens like that. But been there. And but the engine deal saved us a ton of money. I mean, all the teams. I think the body deal. I don't know if it's really saved as much money as people wanted to believe it would. It saves us money because we do all the fabrication of the body and install the bodies and hang them in house. But the actual cost of like getting the body is pretty expensive. So that side of it, it's kind of
does it kind of help with like repairs?
Yeah,
like
it does. I mean, you just replace that piece, which I mean the pieces are still expensive, but you don't have to cut half door tops down for you got a wrinkle in the fender or something. So that helps it. But where like my team, it helps is doing all our stuff at the shop. Where some of the teams still outsource it, and you're paying you're paying $10,000 for a body, then you're paying another, I don't know what it costs really because I never had it done. $8,000 for a guy to hang it. They do a great job, and they do it a little more efficiently because they have 6 to 10 guys on their car putting it on. But having it in house is pretty nice too because we can kind of control our own destiny with a little bit of aero stuff that you can do.
It costs about $20,000 to hang one of those steel bodies on a truck. It's pretty, but that's like the best one you can buy.
Right.
The aero and all the updates. And
I mean, that's what some of the ARCA stuff, some of the Speedway ARCA stuff was like around that number.
Yeah.
The short track stuff. And
I mean, you depend on it so much at a speedway. I mean, it's worth the $20,000 you spend
for
on
sure.
it.
Yeah, and that's really such a dying art because to be able to hang those bodies on there, like we talked about this with Tim.
Right.
To be able to hang a body on there crooked, but have it look straight and be able to do what you want to do with the templates here, there, and still get through. I mean, that's an art.
Oh, yeah.
I know a lot of like the serious body hanging stuff goes on when everyone else, it's all after hour stuff.
Yeah.
So you get everybody gone, and then an hour or two after
bring in your Timmy pet checks.
Yeah, then you bring in your body guy, and the body guy works all night.
Yep.
And no one's in there bothering him, and he can get there and do what he needs to do, and no one sees it. It's out of sight, out of mind.
Yep.
So, because the cars are so aero dependent, so you have to do stuff like that. And then there's certain race teams where, when it comes to being a certain track, like you'll have all your body guys or whatever, but when you go to like an Indy, like it'll be those two guys are going to build this car for everybody.
Remember when they had that crazy aero change at Indy, and like I think it was Hendrick flew up almost every one of his engineers on a separate plane.
Really?
To help with that, yeah.
I don't remember that. I do not remember that.
I think it was 16. They had some huge change for the Cup Series at Indianapolis.
And he brought all those people up there?
He flew up everybody. Figure it out.
I mean, that's the... Yeah.
I remember when back in the steel body days of ARCA, my team had it, and there's some other teams too. Just the wild stuff you could get away with, just because the body fabrication that you could do, and the lack of, I guess, enforcing some of the rules.
Yeah, and then there was always the bring this. Oh, I can only fix it this far.
Yeah.
Sorry, which is exactly where I wanted it to be the whole time. Wink, wink.
I'll get it fixed next week. No worries, Bobby.
yeah. But at the end of the day, like I've been at aero places, at speedway places where you get cars with damage and they're passing you.
Oh yeah,
and it's like, oh yeah, it's aero. Yep. It's all about aero. Yeah, that car's beat to shit, and I just drove past this. Our buddy Tim would say that, yeah, he's like, you're putting the right forces here. He's like, yeah, the car's beat to shit.
The car's supposed to brake in the right areas.
Yeah. He's like, so yeah.
Recommended.
I mean, I still am a firm believer mechanical grip outweighs aero, but aero is really important, though.
Especially for passing. Because you start to get up behind somebody in dirty air, and you just can't get past them.
I mean, I was watching the race on YouTube the other day, or some clips of it. I don't know if it was last year at Michigan Xfinity race, but on a restart, Kyle Busch was leading, and he tried to clear in Brad, and Brad he didn't clear him enough and barely nudged him, and it slammed him into the wall, and he went spinning to the infield. Well, I mean, the car, it's pancaked on the right side. He still came back to finish top 3 or something. He's blown by a guy. Yeah. So, I think he's one of the best wheelman out there, but still, though, you have to have a good car underneath that body.
Yeah. Well, we've seen it when I was with Parker Klingerman at Kentucky. We couldn't get but a door on the outside of Grand Ingfinger. Mm-hmm. And we were there the last 20 laps. Couldn't get past him. Would get up right next to him. He had the bottom line. We couldn't get around him. He would lose the nose as soon as he would get up around him. And then the last lap into 3 and 4, Grant messed up and washed up the racetrack. And Parker went low, got underneath him, and we ended up winning the race.
Right.
But if that, like, Parker had already called it. He's like, I can't do anything. Like, I'm stuck.
Yeah.
Like, I can only get right next to him. I can't do anything else.
Yeah.
And it took Grant to basically mess up in order for us to be able to get past him. They're doing these new aero ducts and stuff like that. It's supposed to bring air through the nose and then shoot it out right in front of the front tires to give more air and to be able to control it a little bit better. I think it'll help. They've obviously had to have tested it at some point.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see.
And that's why I like some of these tracks. You know, I hate repave tracks just because, I mean, I know it's necessary evil sometimes, but I feel like, you know, it's just a one groove racetrack when they repave them. You know, you're always on the bottom usually, but, you know, I love when we go to these racetracks. I love progressive bank tracks and the tracks that wear out because you just get so many options. I mean, look at Kansas. Look at Homestead. I mean, Homestead's a great race. You can run anywhere. Kansas, you can run anywhere. Iowa, you can run anywhere. The old Kentucky, you can kind of move around. And those style of tracks, air obviously is still important, but at least you have options. You know, if the guy's running the bottom, you can go to the top or something like that. But just my rant on repaves, it's so frustrating when we go to a repave. It's like, and you can take literally like a 10th to 15th place car, put him out front, and he'll have a shot at it because he's so much better.
Yeah, that's one thing that they don't show enough in the coverage. They don't show drivers moving around their lines as much as they used to. Like, yeah, they'll talk about like, oh, he ran the bottom that time and picked up some ground, but they're never really showing. Like, they almost need like a view, like looking down at the corner more, so to where you can really see them gain. You know, like just from standing on pit road,
right?
Like, you can see the runs and you can see different things start moving around. Guys go high, guys start going low, and then once you get so close, then you got to basically get in that guy's line because you have to block them.
No.
Like, it doesn't matter. Yeah, because the guy's going to pass you, so you have to do whatever it takes.
The visor cam's been, I feel like, a really cool shot.
Yeah, it's awesome.
They used to have that, like, the gyro thing and the stupid in-car things. Those are cool, but that it really didn't show what the actual driver, like, goes through in there. And now, I mean, people are seeing, like, how violent it is and the forces and everything. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that and at the speedways, at the Daytonas and the Talladegas, when you're seeing there and you're in the draft and they're and their heads shaking around, it's
well, just like how big the banking drops off. Like, you really do see like the sensation of the car just oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what 3 degrees looks like.
Yeah.
I would put a heavy penny on how the media coverage changes when the sale happens.
Yeah.
Not if, but when.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be.
What are you guys hearing about that?
Well, the Panthers just got sold, and wasn't France that bought it.
Right.
So that rumor's gone. Even if it wasn't a rumor, it's not going to happen.
Right.
I don't think that slows down the fact that they're selling anyway.
No. I don't think it has anything to do necessarily with an acquisition of a new piece. I'm sure they're going to have to buy something for tax liability issues because, you know, you're about to get a huge chunk of money, like huge. So, got to put that somewhere. But, you know, it's been a rumor for heavy rumor since 2015. And you've heard a lot of things like international, like oil money group or like a, you know, Saudi royalty type deal. And then you've heard, you know, let's take it public. I do think it's going to get sold. I think it gets sold within the next 2 years. And I think it'll probably go for about $3 billion.
Right.
But I think you'll see a pretty substantial change in like the business model and also the structure. Like, I would heavily believe that you move towards more like the franchise system, where you no longer have the team owners kind of like uniting together to regain control. It's more like the NFL, where the owners unite and say, okay, we're now getting this huge set of revenue share. Like, how do we make this always appreciate? Kind of like the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns suck every year, and they get more valuable every year. And essentially, you're going to have to adopt whatever that is to the NASCAR system and say, this is how the revenue is going to be, split. This is how our interactions with the owners are going to be. This is how we're going to govern things. And a lot of that, and at the end of the day, like, it just kind of got stale and it's run its course, and it's now time to pivot and redirect and figure out what the next chapter looks like.
And I'm a fan of that. I hope that style happens. I think it helps the drivers that don't have the funding.
No, I mean, it's just better for everybody that you have a more stable foot, more stable grounding.
Without a doubt.
Because you're a race team. You're still going to find a way to tweak that system, because you're going to always do what you can off and on the racetrack to win.
Yep.
But you're also still going to be super competitive. It's just going to be a different set of rules. But at the end of the day, it's always going to be the same thing. Beat your competition by any way you can.
Yeah, and I think that's the only way that they're going to be able to do it, because the spending thing, they really can't put a cap on spending because there's so many race teams that make their own parts.
Yeah, I mean,
there's race teams that have warehouse full of CNC machines. Like, you're not.
Yeah.
The only thing is, like, so now you open the books and you make the books public. Well, some race teams,
not good.
Some race teams make stuff for the military, so you can't do that. Like, even just on that, like, you can't do that. And there's not any owner out there that's going to say, yeah, here's what we do.
Well, I'm personally against any type of limiting of any income. Just because, same thing, like, Young and Pruitt podcast does this, but you're also a retail store selling t-shirts. Well, podcasts can't sell t-shirts anymore. Why not? Like, why are you limiting my revenue stream? You got talented people that can go make Department of Defense level pieces and products and designs. Like, okay, well, I just happen to find a fabricator who's good at race car stuff, but he's also better at making this. Like, why can't I use him to make more money?
Right.
Why can't I pay him more money to be working on a tighter tolerance project that requires more for him? It's like, don't ever get to the point where we're limiting income.
Yeah, and then all you do is you just bust up the teams.
Yeah.
And then you just create other businesses to where that part of the race team just becomes such and such CNC. Like, then that's all. And then, are you going to put a rule on how much they charge them?
Yeah, I mean, then you're getting into the free market stuff.
Yeah, like,
then you're interfering with other things.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, well, I own that company, so we're going to get this stuff for $1. We're going to sell it for $2,000, but my race team gets it for $1 because it's my race team.
Yeah,
like,
just take away the reason to spend the big money.
Yeah,
I mean,
so I think the franchise deal, it's just so weird.
Well, the whole RTA thing is like a weird relationship between the teams in NASCAR, and it's thrown like another hitch into the whole balance of how this all works. And I can understand it. Like, a lot of those team owners are right. Like, why is the sport not making more changes quicker to match the environment? Like, we are in a way more fast business environment where everything changes, like, compared to how we were 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of things you have to, like, change the messaging or change promotions or change sales and stuff. Like, that stuff happens overnight now. Back then it used to take half a year to do.
But at the end of the day, how much power does the RTA really have? The sanctioning body can say, no, we're not doing that. Like, the sanctioning body's playing ball and almost allowing this to happen, and like, all right, well, we'll let you have your say.
Well, I don't think that the RTA necessarily is nefarious in its existence in itself.
That's not what I meant.
Yeah, well, I know. And I think there is good reason to have some leverage as a group of owners to come to the table on behalf of your business and say, hey, we need help here. We're not getting it, and we haven't been getting it, and we can't get through to y'all, so now there's this.
Yeah. Does that happen in the ARCA series?
So, a little bit. There actually was a team owner meeting about a year ago at this time. A lot of the big teams and some of the smaller teams, we all got together, met up about just the series in general, pros and cons. Some people, I agreed on a few things people said, and there's some disagreements on things, but it was just to kind of get everybody's brains together and see what ideas we can form to make it a better series, make it a better product. But it really didn't have any legs and go anywhere. I mean,
Ideas like what?
well, like some of the cost related stuff. Honestly, it was only one meeting that I was aware of, that I was in, and it really didn't. I don't know why, but there was never like some follow ups and stuff. So there really isn't a ton of issues, in my opinion, on what's in the ARCA series. Some people were discussing like the price or the cost of how much a set of tires cost. Well, like complaining about it. Well, you got to think though. General Tire is like one of the leading sponsors of the series, and they put so much money in the series for end of the year point funds, pull awards. They sponsor races. They give cash they give cash to you when you mention their names and stuff. So we're gonna bite the hand off that feeds us. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there are some things that are free. Gas is free.
Yeah, at certain tracks, the bigger tracks, you still got to buy X amount at the smaller tracks, which it's a pretty good deal still. All the manufacturers support the series now. When you finish top 3, if you're a Chevrolet, you get X dollar amount. It's the same for each manufacturer. So that side of it, it's pretty good. A lot of the problems are all self-inflicted. We've all created that environment. Like, if you could hire more people, the better you're going to be, as long as it's smarter people. If you could have more engines, buy more engines, it's I don't know.
Nature of competition.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
The one thing that I always thought about some of those cars that are out there, and God bless them. God bless them, but some of those cars, man, don't. Like, you walk by, you look at them.
you need a tetanus shot.
Like,
It's gotten better though with the composite body deal. I mean,
well, yeah, they had to.
Yeah.
Yeah, they physically couldn't run the car anymore.
No.
But there was some of them, it's just like, God, like you walk by and it's like, dun, dun, dun. When you tap the car, it's got so much Bondo on it.
yeah,
The numbers.
fired up, it's smoking.
Yeah. It's like, where's did this motor come out of your boat? Like, where did this and like, I get it. Like, I understand the passion in racing, but like, at what part does safety really come into it? And also, in some stances, yeah, they're getting out of the racetrack really early, but there for a while, like there was one that was up there in points. It's just like, man, like
Well, and the problem too,
you're that much slower.
They didn't really do, in my opinion, at the time, didn't do a great job at enforcing a minimum speed. Like they would give like somebody a warning when they come down pit road for their warning or whatever it was, and then go right back out there and do the same thing. It's like it's visibly noticeable that this guy is way off the pace. Get him off the racetrack. It's a little crazy. It's gotten a lot better though.
Yeah, it'll make someone that's watched racing their whole life like cringe. Like, oh god, like
when it's like it's kind of got that bad rap over the years. Like people make the joke about ARCA brakes. Well, the Cup Series and some series, they wreck way more shit like Daytona and Talladega than the ARCA stuff does.
Yeah.
But there's been a few incidents over the years where it's put that bad rap, the bad image on the series because some knucklehead or a slow car, or I don't know how it happened, but just drives into a wreck a half a lap later. Happened at Springfield or DeQuoin last year.
Yeah.
That place is a little different, but the series overall though is turning in the right direction. It's really cleaned up the image of it. And
they started putting the light, the caution light in the car now.
Yeah.
What's that light called?
The race safe system.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I don't think anybody else really has that system.
Yeah, but it's gotten someone's name from when they crashed.
It happened at Charlotte. When somebody lost their life.
Yeah. Because the spotter went to the bathroom.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal was.
Their spotter wasn't where they were supposed to be. It was what I would always heard. That they weren't where they're supposed to be. The car spun off a 4 or something like that. Yeah, it was
like stopped like that.
Yeah, stopped in the middle, and then car drove into the side of them.
Which that car that drove into the person was like half, 3/4 lap behind him at Charlotte.
Yeah.
Didn't know. There's no spotter deal, and so now every time the caution comes out, that light flicks on in the car. And it's a good safety feature. I like it.
Yeah. That kind of modernizes the safety and the feel.
And ARCA's actually, they haven't implemented it yet, but they're going to transition to it. It's looking like next year, but a digital dash, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I could see that.
There was a car testing one at Charlotte the other night. It looked really cool, really nice and clean, and actually, it could probably save teams money because instead of having all these sets of gauges,
you just have the sensor.
At this car, you just plug and play. Basically, you have one or two dashes, and as long as you make your outline, your border, I guess,
the
the
template,
same, the template the same, your dash panel the same. You just pop it in, plug it in, and go. And it actually has the race safe light built into it, so it blinks there in the dash. So stepping up the game for sure.
Who do you think the buyout favors more? Does it favor more the ARCA teams or the K&N teams? If they were to combine the series and make one series, who does that help more?
I mean, the NASCAR name buying out ARCA, you would want to think K&N, but there's a lot more going on with ARCA right now as far as car counts and the teams and stuff. So I think it favors ARCA.
I mean,
the ARCA teams have more leverage, in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah, just because if you really look at it, I mean, I'm not trying to bash the series by all means, but like they were at Langley a couple weeks ago in South Boston tonight. They had like 15 cars or 19 cars, and they wrecked half the field in the first race. Like 9 or 8 cars finished. Like you go to Toledo this week, I haven't looked at the entry list, but there'll be probably 25, 28 cars. That's a short track. Go to the big tracks, it's always in the mid-30s. And there's legitimately like 15, sometimes closer to 20 good, proven cars that could go win that race. Now, with everything that's happened. So, I don't know really who it helps, but with having that leverage of having competitive cars, more cars, better teams, I think there's more leverage on the ARCA side. But like I said, I don't know what direction everything's going. I haven't been told a damn thing. I didn't even know about the announcement until the announcement.
Really?
Yeah.
wow.
30 minutes before I heard about it. I wasn't like mad, I guess. It was just like, well, myself personally, plus my team's invested in the series for a good while now.
Yeah, you need to be able to forecast.
I don't think any really teams were aware of it. There were some rumblings going around, but it's like 10-4.
Yeah, I remember.
The rumblings have been kind of going around for a long time.
Yeah. And
I honestly did not see that day coming. I was actually pretty shocked because I have a pretty good relationship with Ron Drager, the president of ARCA.
yeah, they're just so content with what they have.
So content and doing it his way, and they've done it their way for what I have 60 some years now. Talking to them over the years, I was like, people would start that rumor. I'm just like, I don't see it happening. But after talking to him and the vibe I'm getting, he's getting older. He does have family, but he doesn't have anybody to hand it off to or anybody that's interested in doing it. So I don't blame him. I think it was some, to look at he was looking out for the teams, as a way to hand it off to somebody that could take it and run with it, with be NASCAR or, what was the other option? I don't know if there was one.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been so into racing his whole life. That's all he's done. And, this gives him something, he's going to still be involved with it. And then maybe right off in the sunset. I don't blame him. He's been hard at it. Dude, that guy is the hardest working, series official person I've ever met in my life. I haven't been involved a ton in NASCAR like you guys have. And no offense to the upper elites, I guess you want to say in that deal. But for what you compare Ron Drager to those guys, Ron Drager is at every event in the hauler, comes around and talks to the competitors, the fans, the drivers. He is a legit people person. He drives to every race. He's the damn front gate man at Toledo Speedway, Flat Rock Speedway that ARCA owns. He's the guy doing the tickets and everything.
Wow.
The dude is real. And so it's a little sad to see that go, but we'll see.
Yeah,
that level of, that's not rocket science.
No.
It's just being there.
There's like 10
it's just
employees.
putting time in and being there.
As far as full-time employees at the ARCA headquarters in Michigan, obviously there's people that come in on the weekends to officiate, but and they keep it simple and
they've all been doing it forever.
Yeah, and but that's what they've had to do to keep it going, and I applaud the man. I don't know when he sleeps because after the race he drives through the night to get to Flat Rock or wherever. But you call him. If he's in a meeting, he's not going to answer, but he'll call you back, email. The dude is really on it and pretty cool guy.
I'm always a kind of a glass half full type of guy. So when I see the series merging into one and having one series, I see if you take all the competitive cars on both sides, you're going to have a really, really, really competitive series that has access to a lot of cool racetracks. And just to see where that goes. You know, if you start getting places like Winchester, places like Elko, they start getting national exposure because they have a ARCA series or ARCA / K&N series, whatever they're going to call it. It'll probably be the K&N series, I assume.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
they'll probably, like, if they were to, you know, to do that, or if they keep it a series as itself, and then you have like a K&N East West Central type thing, and start doing something like that, then you have like certain big shows. That could be good. But I think that kind of takes away from certain things. But if they were to combine the cars, combine the rule book, I think it really opens it up. And I think as far as a ARCA side, having the machine of the big brother and the marketing machine behind that type of stuff only helps stuff like, you know, teams like you.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's funny because a few weeks before the whole deal happened at Talladega with the announcement to sell or the accusation, me and Ron were having a phone conversation, and I told him my opinion on like one of the biggest thing that I think it's really noticeable that ARCA lacks is that they're such traditionalists and set in their ways that like the whole PR side, the whole entertaining side, the whole marketing side, they lack big time compared to NASCAR.
Yeah, I don't even think their Twitter account has tweeted since like last year.
Yeah, the social media side, it's bad, and they have a pretty hard policy on that. And I gave him what I feel like you could add to that with the driver and show, just getting that whole. I love the entertainment side. I mean, I'm a big wrestling fan, as you know, and I don't know. I wish we could implement more of that style into racing, but that was one of the biggest things that ARCA lacks over the time that NASCAR kind of has that they could bring to the. So I think with this merger, I think it could help with that side of it, getting the notoriety out there with the smaller tracks, because we race on some really great racetracks and some tracks that have a ton of history on. And bring it to that national level with the whole marketing side to it, the PR side of it, it's got to be good.
Mm-hmm. And you went from being an ARCA series team owner to a NASCAR team owner, and it didn't cost you a dime.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so easier to sell too, I guess, when you're talking to sponsors as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it, it's kind of flattering for ARCA because they built a better feeder system than NASCAR did. And essentially NASCAR couldn't match it, so you just buy out the competition.
Yep.
Do you think that's what it was?
No, I don't. I mean, I think what it was the kind of what I said earlier was that Ron was looking out for the competitors and a direction they needed to go, and he didn't have an option to hand it off to somebody, and he's getting old and not able to do it this long.
So you think ARCA approached NASCAR?
I think it's been going on in a long time. I mean, it didn't happen overnight at Talladega, but I think it's been going on for a while. At least 6 months to a year. Maybe.
So like NASCAR was like, hey, whenever you want to sell that,
I'm sure.
Let me know.
Well, they've had a long relationship with ARCA.
Oh yeah.
Bill France Sr. and Markham, because Bill France, they still have a title within the series. It's called the Bill France Four Crown. If you win, or if whoever has the most points at the 4 tracks. So they've had that long relationship. They've always worked together too, because the tracks and the schedules have had a. Go hand in hand too. So
yeah, and a lot of the older drivers, Bobby Allison, who we've had on this show before, like he raced ARCA cars and stuff. So there's a lot of big names that used to race it.
In theory too, like kind of hit on it of building a better feeder program. All these kids could run the K&N program and stuff, but you still, no matter what, you still have to go through ARCA. If it was only one race at Daytona, you still have to go through it to get that approval.
Danica.
Yeah.
Danica went through it.
Yep. So I mean, they had a series. They still had the series, and it's a good series, but you still got to go through ARCA.
Yeah, I remember. Was it Kyle Larson? He did it at Pocono.
Yeah.
A few years ago, just to get more seat time. Yep. Who else? Logano. He also did it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just
trying. Wallace ran. I mean,
Parker.
Just trying to get more seat time for the Cup race.
Yeah, Trevor Bayne did that a couple years too at Pocono.
Yeah.
I think Ryan Reed won a race at Kentucky.
Yep. Same thing.
Maybe 2015, 2016.
Yep, it was 15.
Same thing. So you get to where I don't know, like as a driver, I think that would almost kind of like help you, like kind of like the New England Patriots, kind of, okay, well, let's do some easy passes first and let's get everything rolling, get everybody in a rhythm, and then let's go. So if you've gone 2 or 3 years and you've run competitive your whole life, and then you get up to where you're in with a hell of a series, maybe to step back a little bit and,
Right.
knock one out of the park and like, well, I can still do this, or you're like, you get in like that winning mode and it might help you later on.
Yeah. And it could.
Well, Michael Self's a good example of that.
Yeah.
Like he, was in JDM's not top tier car in the Xfinity series, but you put him in an ARCA car, he's pretty competitive.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, and I like Michael a lot. He actually ran a couple races last year for me. 3 actually. It was Pocono, Iowa, and Chicago. We led laps, and we should have won 2 out of the 3. We blew a tire with like 5 to go leading at Chicago. It was so disheartening. And then Iowa, he was dominating, had a sway bar Heimbrake. He actually backed it into the wall early in the race. I mean, this thing is killed, right? And they brought it in, fixed it up, drove to the front, and was leading. So he's underrated in my opinion. He's one of the best in the ARCA field right now too. But he had to set out for a little bit, and he was working on getting funding together. Now he's been fortunate, but that's a real deal with Sinclair and all that happening.
I love that paint scheme.
That's a cool car.
It's an awesome car.
What's going on with that? Is that actually like going to be a thing? Is Sinclair coming back? Are they going to be like the whole gas station thing again, or is it just?
I think they're still like peppered across the Midwest, like pretty heavily.
Yeah, they are.
Really?
Yeah, from being from Iowa, they're big up in Iowa a lot. Knowing Michael and what he's told me, last year a lot. They're getting back on track to, kind of regroup, I guess, and grow and
starting to get some investors again.
Yeah, and redo some of the old stores and.
So nostalgic.
Oh, yeah.
That car looks like a 90s. It has that 90s
Yeah.
paint, just simple paint scheme feel to it.
Yeah,
and then the dinosaur,
it pops.
It does.
It's clean and
it's good stuff.
So, how old are you now?
23.
You're 23.
Yeah.
23-year-old NASCAR team owner. What? You have a huge future ahead of you. What's your goal set on now? What's next for Mason Mitchell?
You got to live in the now, right? I don't know, but I think long-term goal, I want to definitely be back behind the wheel. And really, I don't like using the word content because that feels like you're just kind of rolling over. But with being such a huge advocate and fan of the ARCA series, I guess not knowing really the direction it's going to go now, but I would love to be able to put stuff together. And if I could run ARCA for the rest of my life, I'd be honored and privileged to do that. If I could go run a truck, obviously my goal would be to be a Cup driver, but whatever is able to do would be awesome. So, but the team is doing pretty good right now. I want to get it to the point where we're in that dominating fashion. It's going to be hard too because you just got to have all the right pieces of the puzzle together. You got the right people, you got the right cars, you got the right drivers, and it all meshes together. So, I don't know if I really have a pinpoint answer on your question. It's really just kind of see how everything goes.
I mean, you could really do the whole DIY approach. I mean, if you want to ask your boss if you want to be in the car, all you got to do is say yes.
Yeah, well, so we obviously know the sport, how expensive it takes. Every level is more money, but I've really putting the effort into self-educate myself with. I constantly read all the time, and I listen to podcasts all the time, and I guess it kind of sounds crazy in a way, but I'm from all kinds of books from other people that have been successful, that rags to riches and business books, anything you think of, to be honest. And I had this crazy thought in my head, and I've never shared it before, so it's cool. I'm finally sharing it, I guess, but that. I want to create a way to fund myself, not necessarily with sponsor money, whatever it's through businesses that I create or doing this. There's people are so narrow-minded in life. I've learned that they think you have to do this and that, and you got to go through all high school and college, and I feel like college is right for some people. I didn't go to college, but there's so many opportunities out there. You just got to create them, and I want to create a way to fund myself, however it is. I don't know yet, but I want to do that, and then run whatever I'm able to run and make it a residual income coming in. And I'd love to have my own team at any level and be competitive, win races, and do what I love to do. But I'm doing it on my own way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have, I guess if you want to compare it to the political world, special interests controlling me and sponsors.
Yeah, you don't have a boss.
Yeah. And you kind of shoot the bird to anybody you want. You can do it your own way. And if it's racing ARCA full time, racing trucks full time, it's unorthodox for sure. But I feel like I've kind of been against the grain my whole career with doing my own team and stuff like that. So, and age, the whole age deal really doesn't scare me. I mean, I don't care if I'm 30 racing full time or 25 in a couple of years. That's just a number. And if you are good enough, if you're successful enough in winning races, or if you can create the money to do it, I think the opportunity is going to present itself.
Yeah, I think you're in a good little spot, and I think that you can take advantage of how the times are changing. I think your young, fresh mind, I think you'll be ready for when the new wave hits here in the next couple of years, when the social media stuff happens.
Yeah.
Like you're already ahead of that. You already know, like, how to get your race team a Snapchat, like you're already on top of that. So where these other race teams will be sitting there like, what do we got to do? You'll be able to use just your fresh mind of understanding this is the way things work now.
Right.
Whether that's finding sponsorship, doing media stuff, finding drivers, all that stuff. I think that you're going to be in a better shape than a lot of people, and owning your own stuff sure makes it a hell of a lot easier.
It does at times.
Because you've all that infrastructure is already right there.
Yep.
So you're not the guy going around knocking on everybody's door hoping to take you in. You're just out there looking for some sponsorship. Like, hey, throw your name on my car. I got it.
Right. And I like doing things my own way, and having that team there. I'm there every day right now, but just being involved and knowing what's going on and having input in it. So I feel like it makes it better too, especially driving the thing.
Yeah, and that's also really cool because you're not in the seat, but you're still helping the sport.
Mm-hmm.
You're still giving drivers the opportunity that if your race team wasn't there might not be another race team in your spot. So
Right.
you're giving them the opportunities. You're teaching them everything they know, not everything you know.
Right.
And I don't know how many employees you have. How many employees do you have?
I think we're up to 7 or 8 full time. 7, I think it is, and there's a guy that actually comes in. He's almost full time, and that's just basically shop. Everybody that's at the shop full time, and everybody but one guy goes on the road with us. Then we have some road crew come in. When we run 2 cars, there's some extra help that comes in. So not a huge number of guys, but
No, it's not. But I don't have any employees.
right.
Right.
Well,
I don't think there's enough.
I'm not paying 7 families. I'm not supporting 7
It's the
families
most
here.
expensive part of the business is the payroll expense for sure. But it's the most important part, I think. People are everything.
Yeah, because you could have easily said, "All right, well, I'll just wait. I'll just keep."
Or just have somebody else build a car.
Yeah, yeah. I'll go over here. I'll continue to find sponsorship, and I'll just do my own thing over here. But for you to, guarantee you have your own foundation, you're guaranteeing yourself. Okay, we're in here. When the time's right, you're going to jump back in. And I think it's going to be great.
Yeah. I mean, I think when we started the deal, I don't know if I personally could see this far ahead and be like, this is what we'll be doing at this time. Because at the time you always think of, you're that mindset. You're young. I was young. I'm still young, I guess, but just having success and just keep trying to jump that ladder. So I don't know if I really had thought of turning it into the business at the time and having other drivers drive.
Yeah.
But the way it all just worked out, with this success we had in 14, we had some people wanting to do it, and not everything went the way I thought it was going to go for me personally. So I'm like, well, let's do it, and that's kind of where it's gone to today.
And that's a quality I don't think very many race car drivers are going to have. or very many competitive people are going to have. But you were able to see that as, okay, this is still helping you. This is still helping Mason Mitchell.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still moving forward. I'm in the passenger seat now, but your business is still moving forward. So
I'm still relevant. It's my name is right there on the team.
yeah. But everybody knows it's you.
Yeah.
Everybody knows how good of a driver you are. But as these other guys are coming in, bringing the money, and you're providing them the platform, your technology is moving forward with everybody else. All those new people that are coming in, the driver might go away, and those good people that were there could still be there.
Yep.
So,
I don't think there's enough value placed on being able to do your own thing and be your own boss.
it's the only way to get ahead now.
Like, having a nice Jeep and a nice house and paying it by being a race team owner is pretty fucking awesome, like, way to live, And like, okay, so you're not a cup team yet. Who cares? Like, you're still doing incredible things and like sustaining a level of self-happiness and having pride in your work and continually educating yourself and reading and pushing to move forward. Like, that should be just as celebrated as having, $10 million contracts and having like a shaker rig or, or a 7-post, like doing what you're doing now is still a fantastic, awesome thing. Like, people should respect that more, I guess is what I'm getting at.
And then you get some of the people that like think you're an ARCA. Somebody said this a few months ago. I overheard a conversation. They were talking about me and stuff. It was some younger people and like, oh, you're an ARCA team owner. Oh my God, you just are loaded and blah blah blah. I'm like, you're right. I'm like, I'm on payroll, but I'm not the highest payroll. I can tell you that. And it's it's still scratching that. You got to pay rent. I mean, it's normally I'm like, hell no. I'm like, people have this perception of that.
You just have the say.
Lavish lifestyle.
I mean, the say is like the best part. That's the most valuable part.
You just have the say. Yeah, because all of it. I mean, a good business owner, a lot of it's going right back into it. Just like this little podcast, we're putting everything right back into it.
Right.
Like when we started, dude, we started on a plastic table.
Yep.
So now we actually have wood.
Yeah. So now this is a nice setup, man.
So we keep moving forward and keep adding new things. You're the first person to ever request to come on.
Really?
And as soon as you asked that, I'm like, hey, Mason said he wants to come on. And then it like marinated for like 10 minutes. And then I texted David again. I'm like, hey, he's the first person to request to come on.
Got to have one before you can have two.
Yeah, I know it's like, it seems like nothing, but how we've been doing this and how we're moving everything forward to be in less than a year to have someone request to come on, it was just like, wow, it was like very, very humbling. And then of you, of all people, that was pretty cool because I've told that story I don't know how many times of you sleeping on the floor and like always saying, hey, just remember me when you get up there, when you're holding the champ.
Day story.
Yeah. when you're holding the monster cup up over your head, like, hey, it's all because Zach's sleeping on his mattress.
That's right. I can't remember. I think it was on a weekend or something a few weeks ago that it was on Instagram and I was scrolling through and I don't know if it was on like that popular feed where like you see what like your friends liked or what's like kind of popular, and I saw that there was like just a picture of Matt. I'm like, what is that, Matt Weber? And I clicked it and then it was I think a video or a picture of you guys doing the podcast. I was like, holy cow. So I went into the links and stuff, listened to it, and seen that you guys had a good amount of people already on the show. And I was like, damn, this is cool. And I like it. Podcasts, I listen to them all the time. And I've never done one. And so I'm like, I'll just reach out and like, hey, what's it take?
Just got to ask.
Yeah.
And that goes to everybody else out there that's listening to this. If you want to come on, just ask. As long as you're in the racing business at all.
How's the base like growing and how's that going?
I mean, as long as my mom listens, I don't care. that's where I'm at. As long as my mom listens, that's fine.
My mom listens to every episode.
See, so we got 2. Episode. So we're guaranteed 2 subscribers. That's all that matters.
My mom will listen to this one for sure.
Yeah, that's we're just letting it be itself, do its own thing, and become its own thing.
What's your vision and goal for it?
Oh, I got a lot. I don't want to give give away all my secrets yet.
I hear.
But we do have.
We share a very similar view in
Yes,
a self-sustaining form of revenue and income that serves not only ourselves but the greater purpose of racing itself.
That's good. No, that's cool.
And like the crazy part that I never thought we would be at is the type of people who listen to this and people who are like, hey, this guy listens to you guys. I don't know if you know that. I'm like, what? And then like a lot of people in the garage like listen, and then you see them like walking through the garage and they like double take, and then they'll see me and Zach talking to each other, and it's just like, oh, okay. So they're like, that's those guys. That's who's here. Like they're actually here in the,
That's cool.
the trenches.
Being able to have the network, like you're one of the people that I know, but we've been able to get guests from other people that I know that I didn't know. Yeah. So the network, and then bringing those people together, we've created relationships within the racing community because they seen this person on here. They listened to this person on here and they got to know that person, and then they're like, hey, that's someone that could help me. So just hearing stuff like that, like that's the whole, like that's why we don't ever push it personally.
Right.
Well, it's like the late model racer from Wisconsin sent me a message on Instagram, was like, hey, thanks for the follow back. Love listening to you guys. I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, what? So Justin, I'm going to butcher your name, Mulliken from Wisconsin. Thanks for reaching out. Glad we can entertain you.
Love it, man. Love it. Thank you for listening. Now we have 3.
Yeah.
3 guaranteed listeners. But yeah, and then we had this guy, he's a business owner, stretched out and was wanting to get with some parts people, trying to get some connections. Like it's just like that's the type of stuff. And like I was saying before, like we haven't pushed it personally. Like, yeah, if you go on my Instagram, my Twitter, it'll say Zach Young podcaster or whatever. But I'm not like saying, hey, you need to tune in tonight. You need to do this. You need to do that. Like that's what the podcast social media stuff's for. Like we're letting it do its own thing, and it's working out really good. We're having a blast.
Yeah.
Everyone seems to love it. I hope the 3 people that listen to it, I hope you guys continue listening to it. So,
well, in the same way that you believe in mechanical grip, like I believe in organic growth. Like I believe in just getting better every week, and somebody telling somebody else to listen, and then it just naturally grows that way.
Right.
Like I'm not ready to be pushing it like 24/7.
Right.
I'm not ready to do paid ads. I'm not ready to beg, Ryan Blaney to push us out there. Like I'm just ready for everybody else to be like, okay, this is great. I want to listen to this, and then just kind of let it roll from there.
Right. Yeah, because once it gets to a certain point, then the floodgates will open.
yeah, yes. Soon that time's coming.
Yeah.
But we're just, we're getting experience. Like I never was a radio guy. I mean, I fucking stutter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I took speech classes until my freshman year. So like when I'm editing this shit, I'm like, God, stop stuttering.
The best stories always have the most humble beginnings.
So
Yeah, it's true.
So, it's just like I wanted to do this. I was a podcast fan. I'm like, well, I can do that. Like,
Right.
I stutter, but who cares? Like, I can get on a mic, and I asked
I think
him.
that's what makes a podcast better, the being authentic.
Yeah. And then,
Yeah, we don't use a YouTube voice.
Right.
It's just a conversation. It's like just hanging out.
Yep.
and me and David, we were at Petty's at the time when I first mentioned something to him about it. And then I left Petty's, and then I got hurt. And then while I was on this downtime, I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with myself? Like, I need something to do. I'm like, well, we can start the podcast. So we did what? We started, it was Memorial? It was this weekend last year.
Last year. So we're coming up on it.
Because we talked about the Memorial Day weekend. And it was, the podcast was called something else, and trying to find a name.
I think we did 6 or 7 test episodes that were like 3 hours apiece.
Yeah, and they were all like different names, and we're
garbage.
And we're sitting there going through
such garbage.
Yeah, so we would like look stuff up, and like we started talking about stuff, and like, well, wait a second, like we don't even know what the hell we're talking about, so we need to keep this with what we know, and just keep it tight, simple. Don't paint ourselves into a corner though, but still be able to do what we need to be able to do. And finally, just ended up like just got tired of looking for names, so we just called it the Young and Pruitt Podcast.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't. We had all these like like door bumper clear, like not that name,
Right,
But stuff along those lines, like racing wise, it's just like everything's taken.
Well, and then
Even if it's
the
like
podcast name, it kind of allows you to grow outside of racing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't hold you that market, which racing's got a big fan base, but it's peanuts compared to actual, I guess United States in general, the whole public.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the exact same. That's the not painting ourselves in the corner of being, loose into one podcast or whatever, like that.
I'd want to have Larry Mack on one week and then like Jimmy Houston, like the famous fisherman, like on the next.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it would still make sense.
Door bumper clear, or,
have TJ Majors on like one week. Yeah. It'd be cool just to have like a huge variety.
Yeah.
Like having Cam Newton in that seat one day would be awesome. Having Joe Rogan in that seat one day would be awesome.
Jesus. Oh, now you're getting crazy.
Hey man, if you don't dream big, don't even come to the table.
But like
Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
our second podcast was with Ethan. That was number 2. He wasn't here because he was at school, but which he finally did graduate.
There we go.
Finally graduated, but it was Ethan Marquette. He is a type 1 diabetic. And basically the podcast was him talking about all the stuff that he goes through dealing with that on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
And I had someone who listened to that say, I thought I never knew that I'd listen to a racing podcast and learn about type 1 diabetes. But it's like that type of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're a 23-year-old NASCAR team owner. You know how many of those we got going around?
Right.
None. So to hear your story and to hear about you, that's what we want to do. Mm-hmm. And it just grows the whole thing. Everybody improves from this. Everybody gets something from this.
Yeah.
So speaking of social media and stuff, what's your social media if you want to throw it out there?
So I'm on Twitter. It's at the Mason Racing, no G on racing. And I think it's the same thing on Instagram where you just type my name in. Then we have the team page on there too. It's at MMM_race on Twitter. It's the same thing on Instagram, and we have a Facebook page, Mason Muscle Motorsports. So I feel like we're really active. This year we've really stepped up the whole social media, digital media side of it, the cool videos, and Diego and Tim do a great job with that. You're in that era of like attracting to potential clients too, but also that fan and what to do. So
I think I was just talking about you being able to do that.
It's true.
That's good. All right. Well, you can find us at Young and Pruitt on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me at JackmanZach on Twitter and Instagram.
You can find me at Tall Guy Turbo on Twitter and Instagram.
And Mason, dude, thanks for coming on.
Appreciate your time, man.
It's been a pleasure, dude. I had no expectations for it. It's so cool, and whatever I can do to help you guys throughout the process of podcasting and knowing you guys, I hope you guys have a successful time at it and keep growing it.
Well, yeah, I mean, anyone that you want to send this way?
I will, man. I'm going to be digging into the contacts wherever we can.
That's fine.
Another believer.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. And thank you for requesting to come on, dude. That was big.
Put the Young and Pruitt podcast logo on the B post. There we go.
Oh, I got some stickers over there.
There we go. I don't have too many on the B post this weekend, so that'd be perfect.
Ooh.
I'm serious.
All right. Well,
there we go. We'll see it, folks.
Yeah. So what you said, Toledo?
Yeah, it's on MAV TV, but we can put on some other cars too.
Perfect. All right.
FS1.
I wish you could see our stupid grin. It's pretty big right now.
All right. Well, thank you, Mason, again. See you guys next week.
See you guys.